There are many opposing views about food stamp eligibility and SNAP benefits, but in this discussion, we're going to talk about the twisted truth of government assistance in a system that has turned into dependence. We've seen the signs, EBT accepted here or food stamp eligible, and that little sign may mean different things to different people. But I want to talk about the flaws baked into the system today. What if this system doesn't feed hunger, but quietly feeds dependency? This isn't about blame. This is about a system that was meant to feed people, but now feeds profits. Because while SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, puts food on the table, it's also become a financial pipeline for the biggest food corporations in America. And if we're honest, that's not food freedom, that's food control. SNAP was born out of compassion. It began as a wartime solution, helping farmers sell their crops while feeding struggling families. At its core, it's a brilliant idea. Dignity through choice. Not a handout, but a hand up. Government assistance. That's what it's meant to do. Assist the most vulnerable in our population. What it's turned into is a much more complicated story than just having the local farmer feeding mouths of people in the community. So walk with me down the grocery store aisles and let's discuss this. Today, SNAP benefits are loaded onto a card and families can go shop and buy food that they can prepare. They can buy apples and rice and beans and eggs, but next to those are entire aisles of processed snacks, frozen dinners, neon cereals, and a sea of soda. The USDA's own research shows that nearly 20 cents of every SNAP dollar goes to sweetened drinks, desserts, and salty snacks and candy. And the single most purchased items across all households using SNAP? Soda. Think about what that really means. Our taxpayer-funded nutrition program spends billions of dollars every year, not on nourishment, but on sugar water. It's easy to judge, but let's go deeper. Is this really about bad choices or about the choices available when you're exhausted, overworked, or just trying to feed your family? See, poverty changes the equation. When you're juggling 2 jobs and caring for kids, the question isn't what's healthiest, it's what's easiest. Imagine working all day and then coming home to hungry kids with no energy to cook. You may not even have a working stove or the means to cook a meal. So you reach for what's affordable, quick, and shelf-stable. Well, that shelf-stable box of macaroni or frozen pizza or bag of chips, in that moment feels like survival, not surrender. But the system you're leaning on, it's designed to keep you right there. Those ultra-processed foods are more than convenience. They're a chemistry experiment manufactured to trigger the pleasure centers of the brain, the same ones activated by addictive substances. So every bite gives that tiny dopamine rush, a flicker of relief from a stressful day. Even though that relief fades fast, it causes you basically to reach for another fix. So the cruel part is that these same foods deplete the nutrients that the brain needs to focus and to plan and think critically. So the very food that we're relying on to get through the day makes it harder to change tomorrow. So now this isn't a failure of willpower. They're sort of stuck in a biochemical trap. And the companies who make these foods, they know it. They've studied the bliss point. I've done other videos about this, the perfect ratio of fat, sugar, and salt to keep you coming back. And I believe that they unfairly target low-income neighborhoods with their ads for soda and snacks. They quietly cash in on those government checks when these products are scanned at the checkout. SNAP was meant to feed families, but it's feeding a $1 trillion industry. One dopamine hit at a time. So let's look under the hood. Why would a system built to help people choose food make the worst food the easiest to get? Well, part of the answer is economics. It's far cheaper to make food from corn syrup and soy than it is to grow, harvest, and ship real produce. Commodity crops, corn, wheat, soy, they receive billions in subsidies. Small farms growing vegetables or fruit hardly get any. So the grocery store shelves fill up with ultra-processed products that can last years and travel thousands of miles. And because these products never spoil, they're the most profitable. So here's another twist. The SNAP benefits have a hot food rule. SNAP won't cover anything cooked or prepared for immediate consumption. You can buy a raw chicken, but not a rotisserie chicken. You can buy dry beans, but not a bowl of hot soup. The logic was, let's encourage home cooking, I guess. The reality for millions who don't have the means to cook a meal, they might not even have a working kitchen or the time to cook. This removes the healthiest options. And this funnels them right back into the freezer aisle. When you can't buy a fresh hot meal and you can't cook on your own, what are you left with? Boxes and bags. Now we can judge, but this isn't laziness. This is now logistics. And every one of those barriers strengthens the cycle of dependency. It's not that people don't care. It's the system doesn't allow it to be easy for them. I just want to pause right here and ask if you'll hit the like button so that we can reach more families with this message and get on common ground so that we can start creating real change. Let's talk about the illusion of cheap. A 99-cent box of instant noodles looks affordable until you add up the real cost. We pay for that again and again through insurance premiums and increased health costs and decreased productivity. But in the short term, when someone is trying to feed their family, this looks like the best option. The real cost to our country, though, comes from the decreased productivity and rising costs of healthcare. The United States now spends more than $1 trillion a year treating diet-related diseases. That's more than we spend on education, military, defense, or Social Security. This is a feedback loop. We subsidize the raw ingredients to make processed food cheap. We issue SNAP benefits to make those foods accessible. Then we fund Medicare and Medicaid to treat the illness that those foods cause. We're paying 3 times to poison, purchase, and then to patch the problem. This isn't just inefficient. This is immoral because behind those numbers are people, and parents are too sick to work. Kids are missing school because of preventable disease. Communities have grocery stores being replaced by convenience stores where there is nothing available that's fresh. The tragedy is not that people are making poor choices. It's that the system rewards the corporations who are producing those choices. Every SNAP dollar spent at a megastore strengthens the same food giants lobbying Congress to stay eligible. So when we talk about reform, it's not about restriction. It's about redirection, redirecting billions away from corporate shareholders and back onto local farms. It's the local farmers, the producers, and the families keeping the money within the community. And this change is possible if we shift policy and perception. First, policy. Programs like WIC have already proven that it can be done. WIC provides a specific list of nutrient-dense foods and removes soda, candy, and snack cakes from eligibility. The result, hopefully, better diets, healthier babies, lower healthcare costs. SNAP could follow suit, not to punish, but to protect. We could design it to reward choices that nourish, not numb. Next, we have those incentives. Programs like Double Up Food Bucks let families double their SNAP dollars when they're buying local, fresh produce. Buy an apple from a farmer, get a second apple for free. It's that simple, and it works. Now, as a community, we can take matters into our own hands, rebuild local food infrastructure, community kitchens, farmers markets, shared gardens. Imagine if every community center offered cooking classes like mine, or equipment libraries. Imagine if SNAP covered not just the ingredients, but the use of a kitchen, so families could actually cook beans and soup and stews. They would have the means to prepare the food. When we give people the tools, we restore their agency because food isn't fuel, it's freedom. And freedom isn't possible without skill and self-sufficiency. So what do we do with this truth? Well, make sure that you watch the follow-up video, The Cost of Convenience, because we need to start by redefining freedom itself. Freedom isn't the ability to buy anything in a box. It's the ability to feed yourself without one. When you know how to cook a pot of rice, make beans from scratch, and turn leftovers into soup, you're free from dependency. You're free from marketing, and you're free from the lie that you need the industry to survive. That's why I always say our freedom begins and ends in the kitchen. We've been taught that convenience is progress, but convenience kills creativity, and creativity is what builds cultures and communities and solutions. If we want to fix this broken system, we must reclaim the lost art of cooking, growing food, supporting the local farmers who feed us, and demand that our tax dollars nourish people, not profit margins. If this video made you think, share it. And if it stirred something in you, please comment below. because next time on Freedom Kitchen, we're going to follow the money and we're going to expose how convenience foods became corporate welfare disguised as compassion, and how big food lobbied its way into SNAP eligibility. This is how billions of public funds now flow straight to the multinational food giants instead of your local farms. That's in our next deep dive in the cost of convenience. Until then, remember, the kitchen isn't just where we cook, it's where we take back control. Thanks for watching. I'm Lisa, and this is Freedom Kitchen.